Hi, my name's Kev, and I love shoot-'ems. Mostly because I only have two thumbs and can play them as opposed to today's controllers. I was going to buy a console, which was the home of the shoot-'em-up. But then I realised, loads of quality games on the Atari ST. So why not join me in my Summer of Shoot-'em-ups? Hi guys, Kev from the Atari Staffroom back again, another vid. This video is the first in a series of videos I'm doing about vertical shoot-'em-ups in the Atari ST, entitled The Summer of Shoot-'em-ups. I like that, I genuinely do. I'm feeling quite chuffed with that now. Anyway, so here we go. First on my list of vertical shooters is... It's not a well-known shooter. It sort of just dips under being considered a classic by most people. Oh, there go my notes. The shoot-'em-up is Gemini Wing. Now, Gemini Wing was an arcade game by Temco. Temco, have I said that right? I think I have. Temco. And it's an old-school shooter. It's a proper vertical shooter. Lots of power-ups, loads of bosses, bizarre flight patterns, loads of bullets on screen. Not quite a bullet hell shooter, but, you know, back in 1989, 1990, quite impressive. So the Atari ST got a port of it, which came out about 2 years after the initial release of the arcade machine. Kind of missing the boat, guys. Thanks, Masteronic. That's where it came from, Virgin Masteronic. I assume they were Virgin Masteronic and just not Masteronic. Anyway. So, yeah, I missed this first time round, and I missed this because, well, ST format I blame completely. They gave it 64%, and I don't understand it. I've revisited it, and it has aged better than a lot of shooters that were much more highly regarded at the time. Personally, I think it's aged better than Xenon 2. When you peel away the incredible presentation of Xenon 2, what you're left with is not as impressive as Gemini Wing. And I'm kind of hooked at Gemini Wing. So, yes. So there we are. So, there's a little bit of history on Gemini Wing for you. And now, new feature. Old Kev is raising the bar a bit. We have a special guest interview. We do. And it started off as an interview and turned into more of a chat about the game and the industry at the time. So I'm going to shut up now and start this video of the interview, which I pre-recorded, with a totally excellent guy, a guy named Barry Leitch. Now, Barry was responsible for the music on Gemini Wing, as well as a plethora of other titles. I mean, Supercars 2, loads of stuff for Gremlin, stuff for the PS2, C64, Spectrum, ST, Amiga. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, the guy is a genuine game music legend, and he's still working, and we'll touch on that in the interview on his current project, which I've checked it out. Looks the business. Sounds the business, more than the point. But he's a musician. Okay, so let's cut into the interview. Okay, so this is my first interview for the Atari Staffroom, and we have game music legend Barry Leitch for this. Hello, Barry. How the devil are you, man?
Good.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So I've been on your website and I've got your list of what you claim to be responsible for.
No, I didn't make that list. Somebody else made it, and I grabbed it. They said that I did the music for all those. So
I was going to say, because I went on. There's a website called Atari Mania, and they've got every Atari sort of ROM and disc box, and you can name. And your list on there is longer than the list on your website, and that's just the Atari stuff.
You'll have to send me the web link so I can.
I will check it out. Apparently, you did a lot for Domark.
Well, that's possible. I know we did some. When I worked for Imagitech, they used to freelance me out and do work for other people like Gremlin.
Because there's a lot of sort of player managery type games that you've obviously done some sports football music at some point.
Yeah, you know, to be honest, I'm sure there's probably at least one or two football games that I worked on that I don't have on my resume. So.
That you don't know you worked on at all.
Forgotten I worked on. It's just so many. I mean, we were constantly working on projects. It was crazy days.
Fab. Right. Okay. Anyway, so I'm just looking through this list and looking down. Here's the list. It genuinely exists. It's not just a prop or me trying to be clever. I mean, I'm looking. Oddly enough, Gauntlet Dark Legacy is by here for the PS2, which I had a conversation about this afternoon, completely unrelated.
Oh yeah. Well, there were several people worked on that. It wasn't just me. It was Michael Henry, Joe Lyford, John Paul, and Don Deeknight. That was cool. Everybody at Atari worked on that one. There was so much music in it.
Oh, fab. I'm learning all the time. But having said that, there's a game by here. Would you call it Hiccups?
Hiccups, yeah,
Hiccups.
the very first one.
Yeah, back on the C64, which is a game I actually haven't played. I should have really played it. Just so
I've actually got a cassette sitting up on my shelf there.
Well, of course you have. Of course you have. I bet it's signed by the fellow who did the music as well, isn't it?
No, I'm not that vain.
Right. Anyway, so the reason we're here is because you did the music, or credited with the music, for the ST version of Gemini Wing, the conversion.
Yeah.
Which is one of those games. I mean, there's a lot of retro gaming community. The retro gaming community is growing all the time. I mean, there's a lot of interest. There's a lot of 40-year-olds wishing they still had their old computers, their Spectrums and their Ataris and things, you know. So. Yeah, and that Gemini Wing has aged better than most, because back in the 16-bit, everybody was waving their arms about saying how good the Bitmap brothers were and how good Xenon 2 was, and the fact they'd just bombed the bass, and Dave Whittaker had done such a fabulous job converting the music to the Yamaha chip and all this. But now it just looks pants. It's slow. Yeah. The graphics are okay, but it is slow, and it's exactly the same as everything else out there. But Gemini Wing, I mean, the music is great. It's still,
really?
Yeah, the music, it's a good conversion, and I'll send you the link to this video when it's done, because I put them sort of together, and the music on Gemini Wing is a very good job, and that's not me blowing smoke. It is a very good job converting from the arcade.
See, my memory of it is that we had the arcade machine, but it was noisy, there was sound effects, there was no way to get a recording of the music other than sit with a cassette recorder and then trying to transcribe it. And I had no keyboard at work, I had no piano or synthesizer or anything to try and sketch around with. So I'm sat using an Amiga and a copy of Mod Tracker trying to work out the tunes. And I think, to be honest, I just made a lot of it up. I heard the arcade one, I was like, I'll do something like that.
Amiga! Language, please. What's your language?
I used to do everything on the Amiga first and then convert it to the ST. I would always try and write the music so it was more melody based and didn't use so many sample dependent sounds. That way it would make life easier. Because like the Bitmap brothers, you know, when you have to convert Mega Blast to the ST, I mean, that's got to be a hell of a job because it's so much speech. And
Oddly enough, the Bitmap brothers, when they started, they did it the other way around. They started on the ST, and anything they produced on Amiga was the ST Plus version.
It's probably a good way to do it.
Well,
we just didn't have tools on the ST at the time.
Well, nobody had a mod tracker on the ST at the time, did they? It was all chippy. Well, actually, you've sort of half answered my first question, which was, how much help did you get from Tecmo? I mean, you were presented with this license, if you like, and then you hear stories. I mean, Sega, Activision's conversions of Sega games, Sega, they didn't even give Activision 10 pence to go down the local arcade and try. Yeah.
That's pretty much how it was. I mean, I think we had the arcade game in our kitchen, the Imagitech, and that was it. That was the extent of it. There might have been some manuals, but any manuals were always in kanji, you know.
Yeah. So, but they did provide you with an arcade machine.
We got an arcade machine. I don't know where it came from. Don't Imagitech. It was probably stolen or borrowed from a pub or something.
I was going to say, turned up on the front door in the back of an old ambulance. Oh,
it's a lot of that.
That's fine. But you had something to go on, and that's great. So that's your. So any other memories of the conversion
of Gemini Wing?
Gemini Wing, yeah.
My thoughts on the music were I I don't really like the Gemini Wing music because it was at that stage. I mean, I was learning to compose. I was incredibly lucky. I got a job as a composer, and I couldn't really compose, so I was kind of learning as I went along. And Gemini Wing, there was a period of time like with Harlequin, Utopia, Lotus 2, where I started to get it right. I started to be able to compose music that wasn't awful. And Gemini Wing, I think, was just before that. So it's always I don't really like listening to it much.
All right. Okay. Oh dear.
Sorry, that's probably not what you want to hear. I should
No,
pick up some story about how it was. Yeah, it was this fantastic
no,
soundtrack.
that's fine. Right. So obviously we've covered some of the issues you've had in converting what was effectively an arcade game to the home systems. So you've got to deal with sound effects,
Yeah,
zero
well,
help.
yeah, no help at all. I mean, and it was the same. I mean, a few years before that, I did. We were doing an R-type conversion. Catalyst coders in Portsmouth were doing it for Activision, and we were struggling doing this conversion of this huge arcade game. And I mean, the guys, we were all penniless working on it. I mean, we were getting paid about the same amount as unemployment benefits. I mean, it wasn't like we were living this lavish lifestyle. But we were doing this conversion, and it was really rough. I mean, trying to transcribe the arcade music, and then the Germans came in. They done Catechus, and they were like, "Hey, we can change the graphics and make it R-type." And Chris Hulsbeck did this. I think it was Chris Hulsbeck did a great soundtrack for it. And Activision were like, "You know what? We're going to forget about the one being done by Catalyst coders, and we're going to use this one instead because this is great."
Rotten so-and-sos. Right. Hold on. I'm just trying to read. Right. This is actually not my question, but it kind of fits in. This is a question from, don't laugh now, Stickhead, over at the Joy of Sticks channel, which isn't a porn site, so you know. Right, and he put forward the question. Well, it's a two-part question. When composing, do you usually get a brief, or do you get to play a sort of preliminary version of the game to get a feel for what's
It depends. I mean, sometimes all I've had is the title of the game. There was a Facebook football game I worked on. It was a Scottish company. They're like, "Yeah, we're doing a football manager game." I'm like, "I can do that. I can write Scottish."
Celtic or Rangers? Celtic or Rangers?
Rangers by. But yeah, I mean, sometimes we got to just the name of the game. Sometimes, like with Horizon Chase, I got a couple of pictures of artwork. I didn't get to see the actual game until just last week, and I've been enjoying playing that. I snarfed my daughter's iPad.
No, I sort of remember hearing about Horizon Chase, and then it sort of dropped out of my my mental filing cabinet, if you like. And then when I went back to it, I had a look at the trailer. Now it sounds amazing and it looks amazing, and I tell you what, it puts me in mind of 1990. Tobias Richer had a demo called The Chase. Did you ever see that?
No, I'm gonna have to look that up.
Look that up. Tobias Richter, Richter, The Chase. It is on YouTube. And there was, when it got converted to the ST, this demo, there was a lot of fuss about there was going to be a game of it. And it's taken about 30 years, but I think this is the game.
Oh wow, yeah.
It is.
It looked very similar. It's kind of nice having the police car chasing them. Could be a good add-on. But you're right, graphically, that's very similar. Yeah. But right, Horizon Chase was a really, really strange one. It's just because over the years, apparently, out of all the games I worked on, the Top Gear music got quite famous in Brazil, where it's moved from being that little niche of game music to being not mainstream, but slightly closer. You know, where guitar players start playing the arpeggios and stuff, much the same way that people play Stairway to Heaven. It seems like people play Top Gear arpeggios, which is insane. And so these guys in Brazil had contacted me, and people have contacted me over the years several times just to say that they like the music and stuff. And they contacted me saying, "Hey, we're making a game. You interested in doing the music for it?" I'm like, well, this could be kind of cool. I was a little bit wary at first because you don't know if it's just a couple of guys having a laugh, but these guys are a serious game developer, and as I saw the graphics in the game, it was like, yeah, I want to be involved in this. It's fun. So they're like, I was like, well, what do you want me to do? I mean, usually people they have a brief for you. You know, they're like, we want it to sound just like Star Wars, but not Star Wars. And in this case, it was we want it to sound like what you did in 1992, but make it better and more modern. And I'm like, so I can do whatever I want. And they're like, pretty much. I was like, really?
We want Splash Wave.
Yeah, to go crazy, just have fun doing it, and it's been superb. I mean, usually when I send usually the hardest pieces of music to write on a project are the first piece and the last piece. Now, the last piece is because you're so fried, you're tired of composing, you just want a day off. But the first piece, when you send it in, the first one, you usually expect some back and forwards. I mean, but they'll tell you, you know, can you change the bass drum? Maybe the guitars are too loud. People can get really picky about all kinds of weird things. And but in this case, when I sent it to them, I expected to get a huge list of things to change back from them. But I think I got like a 2-word email that just said, it's fucking awesome. I was like, yes, nailed it first time. And I went from there, and it was so exciting. It got me all worked up about it because these guys were getting excited, enjoying hearing them. So it was very there was a lot of momentum to it.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to that. And another one fitting in. This one comes from the Atari Crypt, and he just wants to give out some love because Lotus Turbo Challenge 2 is his favorite game music. So
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so yeah, his questions were much the same as what we had.
I mean, on the ST.
Well, he says on the ST, but I'm sure he's got Amiga leanings somewhere. We'll have to investigate that.
Can I quickly take a second to listen to the ST version?
Yeah, by all means. Don't.
That tom drum or kick drum.
Wait for the key change.
Yeah, that kick drum's bloody awful. I can't believe it did that.
Right, actually, while we're on this, do you miss the sort of limitations? Because there's no limitations now. You basically, if you sit in front of your PC, you've got an entire recording studio, for want of a better term, compared to 20, 30 years ago. Do you miss that sort of challenge?
Well, a lot of the work I do with toys is severely limited, way more than the old Amiga days. I mean, some of the toys I've worked on can play 2 notes at any time, and you have no control other than turning the sample on and off and trying to pitch it. And I like that stuff. It's the little niche that I found that I kind of enjoy working in. I usually have a toy sitting around where I've got a not a guitar, Barbie guitar. Hang on, Baby Einstien guitar. Ta-da!
Wow. Fabulous.
Now that's not my choice of guitar in there. They selected the electric guitar. I thought Baby Einstien should have acoustic guitars in it, but
that's excellent. Did you have to buy that, or did you get that as a freebie for the work?
It's a freebie.
That was your payment, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, fabulous. Right, I'm saying fabulous a lot. I really shouldn't. Right, an interesting question now. What with people like Dave Lowe and Jochen Hippel re-releasing their old tracks orchestrally, and Dave Lowe's just been successfully crowdfunded for an album.
Yeah, I saw that.
Would you consider doing the same?
I've thought about it. I didn't think that my stuff would be popular enough to get the funding. I mean, you see people. I mean, some of the old guys are doing it. I mean, your own Tell's doing one just now. He's not struggling by any sense. It means he's far from over. But I mean, I always thought his stuff was far more popular than mine. But the most impressive one was Chris Hulsbeck. I mean, he he funded, and then he funded some way more. It was very impressive.
In my opinion, that's just because the Turrican 2 Level 1 music sounds like Van Halen's Jump slightly too much. That's just my opinion. That is not in any way... but that's just my opinion. It always puts me in mind of that, and I've said that before. But, because obviously he's got the anthology with 97 discs, with 27 versions of it. But fair play to him for doing that. And
I mean, I've thought about doing it. I don't think my stuff's popular enough to get that kind of traction.
Well, I don't think it's so much... It's the games, isn't it? It's not so much the music. I mean, people remember, like Lotus 2. They may not remember your name, but they certainly remember the music.
Well, things like the Atari and Amiga were really popular in Europe, but they weren't popular in the States here. In the States, it's all about the consoles. I mean, those were the things that took off. So I came here with this list of titles that I'd worked on, and they're all like, "Yeah, that's great. We haven't seen any of those. Maybe do some Super Nintendo music." I'm like, okay.
Yes, I saw a few Super Nintendo tracks on here. Gadget Twins was the first one that caught my eye, and Eek the Cat.
Eek, I think I only did some of the tunes on that. I know that Ocean, I worked with Dean Evans and Keith Tinman, and me and Dean we quite often during the course of a day, we would just switch offices, and I'd go and work on his tune and he'd work on mine, which was really productive way of working. I really enjoyed that. Dean's a fantastic composer.
I'm saying Fab all the time. Wish I wouldn't.
I think Keith wrote a lot of Eek the Cat. I can't remember though. It's too long ago. 20 odd years. 24.
Postman Pat is also on your resume, and that is my my 2.5-year-old daughter's favourite game. When I stick the emulator on, it's Postman Pat on the Atari ST. She loves it. She can't drive the van for bobbins, but it doesn't matter, does it?
That was one of the sneaky ones. I was working at a Magitech, and I would leave a Magitech on a Friday night and get a train up to Harrogate and go and work at Mark Greenfield's place and do music for his games on the weekend.
You're the games composer equivalent of a plumber, aren't you, really?
Yeah.
I've just got to go out. I'm going to do another job. I'll be back next week. It's fine.
A couple £100 in your pocket. You were
well, that's right. No? That's the way to do it.
Postman Pat, there was a time we used to get the British Trade magazine, and the top 3 games all had my music in them, and one of them was Postman Pat. I remember that. That was a proud moment. Because I couldn't tell anybody. I couldn't tell anyone at Magitech that I did Postman Pat. Done it on the sly.
There you are. That's interesting that there was a trade magazine for games music. I like that.
No, it wasn't just for music. It was for the whole industry.
Oh, right. Okay.
Weekly magazine.
Oh, right. It was right. Okay, I'm with you. All right. Okay. Let me just see if I missed any questions that myself and people wanted to ask. Right. So basically, I've discovered from this interview that converting Gemini Wing from the arcade was a nightmare because the machine was in the kitchen and it was too blinking loud. If anybody hires you, don't let you go early on a Friday. And
we were just so poor that the only way to keep paying your rent was to get another source of income. Which was
don't get me wrong. I'm not judging at all. I mean that is excellent. I guarantee that has never come up in any other interview. With any music, any gaming musician.
I think it's funny. Maybe it was just us. We were paid terribly. We were so.
Well, I was just checking my notes a minute.
Take your time.
Right. Oh yes, and I would just like to say that I think the reason Gemini Wing on the ST, I'm trying to keep myself on topic, but you're such a great interviewee. I mean, this is my first interview as well, so. You're such a great interviewee that we keep going off topic. But I personally think, and I just throw this in there, Gemini Wing scored so low on the Atari ST simply because ST format gave it 64%, saying I'm gonna quote this now. Hold on. Here's me bit of paper with their quote. Do me a favour, not another oldie shoot 'em up. There's nice, isn't it? 64%.
What did they give the sound, or is that the sound rating?
No, that is the combined score. This was in one of their little slots, but then they gave Xenon, which is considered a classic by some again. They give the original Xenon 70%, which is it goes to show that ST format. They were a major publication for the Atari ST. All the format magazines were major publications for the 16 bits. It goes to show that their scoring system is pants basically and doesn't apply to a motor ship.
I still have an edition to ST format that has my picture in it. It was the one where we did the Prophecy Viking Child thing.
Oh, Viking Child! I've played that as well. I do like that. That's another one that looks good.
Who was the programmer for Gemini Wing? Was it Jules?
Gemini Wing. There's no credit anywhere. The only credit I can find for Gemini Wing at all. I mean, you go on Atari Mania, which is everybody's source, and you come out of that and you look at Imagitech and everything else. Nobody takes credit for it. The only person who seems to have taken credit for it is yourself for the music.
I wonder if who did the Amiga one? Was it because it'd be the same programmer?
Oh,
it was either Jules or Adrian Waterhouse.
Adrian Waterhouse doesn't ring a bell.
Carl Wade, he did the 64 version. Carl died the other year. Sorry, we're getting to the age that people start dying.
There's me going,
Well, the other page lists Dave Childs and Mark Barker. Don't think it was Mark Barker.
Yeah, nobody seems to have taken credit for it, which is a shame.
It's probably Jules then.
Right.
Jules, Christ, what's his last name? Look him up on Facebook. Give me 2 seconds.
I was going to say he's lost to the annals of history.
So many different ways to spell Jules. Julian Gardner. That's him.
Julian Gardner, right.
He might be the programmer.
Oh, there you are. That's so. There's something else we've learned that's not lurking out in the public domain yet.
You can find them. Let me just have a listen to a couple of the Atari ST version of Gemini Wing, because I haven't listened to these since 1991 or whatever. Is that the title tune?
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't very good.
Well, the in-game music, wasn't it? Oh, come on, you can't not love that. There's no spot sound effects, that's it.
No, so it uses all 3 channels.
He's using everything it's got, yeah.
I remember these. Yeah, see, like that. I know the arcade tune had the dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
And so I just went with that, and then
it's got that as well. That din 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 din. I'm tone deaf. I mean, there's me going da 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 da. But
let's see the high score tune. High scores are always the best place. Well, that's Now, see, when I did all those, I was still learning. I was still developing an ear for listening to music. So it was a hellish process going through that, trying to transcribe it with no piano or no synthesizer.
So how did you actually get into the sort of games music side of things then? I mean, well,
that's how it started. When I was like 15, I started putting together bits of music on the Commodore 64, and I sent them to all the game companies, and I started writing my own music. I talked to Rob Hubbard and stuff, and he gave me some general pointers and stuff, but I was an annoying little 15-year-old. And so I put some demos together, and I sent them to all the game companies and called them up, and I'm like, hey, you should use my music. It's awesome. And they're like, yeah, no, it's not. But eventually, one of them turned around and said, hey, I like this tune. I want to use it in a game. I'm like, really? That'd be awesome.
That's excellent. That's great. It's good. It's proper not bedroom code. I suppose bedroom composer stuff, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, the whole industry was like that. I mean, most people were working out their homes, and it was just that. I got lucky.
and now you're living the high life in the US.
Now I'm living an exceedingly normal life. Like,
oh, fabulous!
I just think it's a shame. It's a shame back then that there was so little money spent on the development side of things, with what we produced, and obviously some of these games made an awful lot of money for big companies. It's just a shame the developers never really got to see a lot of that.
Well, I think back then that was the same with any sort of entertainment industry, unless you were sort of, your face was recognisable. I mean, you hear stories about the early days of like Bowie and people like that. They're chucking out classic tunes. Bowie is sleeping in a camper on whatever road it was in London.
Meatloaf being completely penniless, standing there looking at the huge racks of Bat Out of Hell.
No, that's right. Yeah. As a side thing, do you know where how he got the nickname? Meatloaf?
No.
Because the story goes, his head is so tough, it's like his mother's meatloaf. Somebody drove a car over it for a bet.
Jesus.
I don't know how true that story is, but it's...
How would they find that out? I mean, is he really... Well, maybe he's not a very smart man. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. He's done quite well, considering all the trouble he's had as well.
Yeah, I think he finally got the second one.
Yeah, but yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much, Barry. You've been a delight and an education, and my first interview.
You've done well. Did a good job. I was going to ask you. Were games like Harlequin and Hero Quest, were they not? I'm surprised you picked Gemini Wing over those ones, because I would be. If you ask me of which tunes of mine sound the best on the ST, Gemini Wing's like down the list away.
Well, Harlequin, I don't know whether I'm a fan of that. Hero Quest, yes, absolutely. But this is going on a show about shoot 'em ups. To be honest, you may get another Skype call from me when I do platformers and strategy games.
Well, I'm here every day.
You said that with a man who wishes he was somewhere else. I'm here every day. Oh well.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Barry. It's been an absolute joy, genuinely. So thank you, and I'm going to say so long. After speaking to Barry, it's only right we compare the music to the arcade original. So what I'm going to do now is going to have a little look at Gemini Wing, the arcade, on this side, and the Atari ST version of Gemini Wing on this side. And what I'll do is we'll have the music going, and then I will just cut halfway through and swap sound channels, so to speak. So we'll go from the arcade to the Atari ST sound and see what you guys think. So let's do that. you will agree that was pretty damn good conversion that was done on that music. Yeah, so, and you can compare the two and see that the ST conversion of Gemini Wing, okay, there are a few minor differences, which I'll get into the gameplay, but on the whole, bloody good conversion, I think. So, anyway, the bit everyone's waiting for. On with me trying to play Gemini Wing on the Atari ST. Be kind as always, guys. You know I'm not very good at computer games, but I did practice. Okay, guys, here we are with the gameplay portion of this video. Me playing Gemini Wing. I have been practicing. I don't expect great things. Yeah, so I'm having to use an automation crack of Gemini Wing because the original STX ROM files for Gemini Wing don't work with Atari for whatever reason. I can't get them to work anyway, not in the Mac version. So yeah, off we go. So Sales Curve presents Gemini Wing. Magitech in there, as we now know, and Tecmo. Yeah. So off we go. Let's just get stuck in. So the graphics aren't bad. As you can see, I'm trailing the first 3 power-ups behind me. Any extra power-ups appear sort of stacked in that box on the bottom right-hand side. Let's get these. Yep, there, like that. See? Now, that's different to the arcade version, obviously, and helps with limiting the number of sprites on screen to keep the action going right. Also different in the arcade was that little padlock thing I picked up, which if you die, that appears on screen and lets you regain all the power-ups you had, or gumballs as they're officially referred to, before you hit the big one. Yeah, so the other difference between this and right down there you are. Is lots. Oh, you are there. Sorry, I think that continues now. I will need that padlock because there's loads there. Heat seekers. There's some orchestras. We've got lots of power-ups there. Yeah, the other difference is because obviously the Atari joystick is only a single button. In order to fire your power-up, you've got to hold down the sugar now. You've got to hold down the fire button, which means you can't use auto fire, which is a shame. Oh, got that right. And on that one there. I've got plenty of power-ups to hit the boss with. So as soon as he surfaces, we'll be right back on the net. So I pause while the boss loads in. This is Walrus Guy. So this is giving all me. I got some speed. Oh, I'm going a bit too fast. I'm glad actually. That's sped up too much. Oh no! Oh. So, as you can hear, I can't use autofire, so I'm having to just button tap like nobody's business. Hey. Like that. Great use of colour in this game, actually. Oh. 1, 2. Oh, the eyes. And the trick with this is just to try and... Oh, I should have... Hopefully I've got another continue. Yes. The eyes must not see. That's Pluto's, wasn't it? The eyes must not see. Oh. Without any sort of power-ups, and all I can do is avoid them because there's too many of them. Try to avoid them. Oh no! Well, these guys just make me think of lemmings. I don't know. Look how much is going on screen, and there's very little slowdown. Absolutely fabulous stuff. Oh. Take that out. Whoa! God! Oh! Barry's tune going up, bobbing away in the background. Lovely stuff. Oh, just as you can take a few minutes to listen to it. The fades out because the bosses begin. I have to admit, I do find this game easier than the arcade version. Helps that these guys, they pause just before they shoot their big laser thing. You can see which direction is coming at you. Hey. And here we go. Now this next level is a sod, and you will see why in a minute. It really is. Oh, so you got to shoot your way through this concrete. I'll call it concrete. Whatever. And greeted straight with that. Have I got any more? Oh, right now I got to fly in front of all these now quickly, because if you touch the walls, you're dead. I mean, look, this is ridiculous. Now I'm all for back in the day we used to complain about the sort of status bars on the side. We didn't have full screen scrolling and this, that, and that. But it helps maintain the aspect ratio of the game. But in this particular level, I would sooner see more, to be honest. Well, that's me done. Another stupid joystick controlled keyboard thing. The controls are reverse, so up is down and down is up there as well. Right. So yeah. So that's Gemini Wing. I like it. I like everything about that. I've been playing it a while now, and I think it's an excellent arcade conversion, and the controls are responsive, and it's bright, it's colourful, the graphics are good, the sound is good. I mean, there's nothing actually wrong with this game, which makes me wonder why ST format gave it that 64%. Was it? Yeah, 64%. I've got no idea why, which is a shame. But there you are. Well, time's running short, so I will say so long now, and see you in the next video. Okay, thanks for watching. I'm going to play a bit more of this, because I'm kind of addicted, and I will catch you guys later. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.